Okay. Where is that? So today we really also need very, 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 very much. We need to be literally focusing our thoughts, our vision, our whatever, certainly going within the place of focusing for the Holy Land. And we are literally in the next step of waiting to see. Sorry. Okay. We're literally waiting to, we're watching actually literal history unfold itself, and wherever it's going to be, whatever's going to happen, and we know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has our backs, and we have to just focus really on ourselves. So what I was thinking was that actually it would be a good forum to take up, and Dals will just do Chazorah, we'll do it at a different kind of level, but to look at the books of this beautiful book that's come out recently of the Ani Mamin. Rabbi Birnbaum also does it on Thursday nights, and it's something where we are in a place of strengthening who we are and where we need to really be. And I think that there is actually no better way or no better focus than the internal space of who I am and what I need to do. And that which works so beautifully together with this, which we'll start with now, is actually to understand a little bit how we actually refine our character and knowing what we're doing really in the world and what we're supposed to be doing here. So when anybody says to you, "Oh, I don't know what my place is in the world and what am I supposed to be doing," and we actually can turn around and say that really the reality is to be metaken, to rectify our midas, to better ourselves, to better our characteristics, our character traits, and to work on all sorts of different things which we actually kind of know exist and are there, but we realistically sort of like, but when we're thinking of a place that we want to be and understanding what our personal obligation is in the world, is actually to rectify our midas and to make ourselves into better human beings on all levels. And there's some places that it's very easy to do that, and then there are other places that we all know are actually much more difficult. So in understanding that there is an actual halachic obligation, okay, and this is told us in Mishle, that says, hold fast to discipline, do not let go, meaning do not let go of your discipline, guard it, okay, for it is your life. Now, whenever I think about some of these things, I think like even when there are two people that are pretty nice and whatever together, they somehow, we find difficulties in places that we need to go to and what we need to be. And with one space, we can be that really lovely, nice, kind, generous, compassionate person. And then we go into another space and it doesn't really work as well as we'd like it to. So it's a place of always looking inside and looking and saying, why? Okay. And what is this thing that I can actually really, really work on and change? So a little bit later today, I'm actually going to speak for a group of young moms. And it's kind of like mother to mother. So it's a group of the moms that come together, they have their coffees and they've got their babies and whatever. And it's just giving a little bit of chizuk and looking at how we look after our mental well-being through the years of child rearing. I said through the years, they never, when we're blessed, then we say we should be blessed that it never ends, because we always want to be in that place and that position to have your children. And I think that the challenge of the world today that we're also living in, and it's always been like this, but it just becomes much clearer, is when we start recognizing just how fragile our lives are, and also young people, and we see where, we're looking at the world of there are different places, and there's the place of, where Hashem, we've got our wars and we've got all different things, but there's a lot of challenges in our world. And the stronger that we are in connecting and understanding our work as people, the more we can actually not necessarily understand Hashem's ways, but we accept it. And when we see great people, like the Goldberg family, who just lost the Rabbi Goldberg in Yerushalayim, and people will tell you, that this man just whatever he was just extraordinary. And one of the things that his wife said when ministers and Knesset members and everybody wanted to come and visit, she said they were only allowed to come if they all came like together, like the different fractions of society came and actually were at the Shiva in a place of unity. And it's on a very different level, but having this very interesting process of even getting together a chalamek, which is absolutely, literally just a place of, good morning, Simone, a chalamek, which is a place of hopefully lots and lots of bracha. Simone, you can ask your shul as well. Maybe they want to join. Anybody though, any shul and organization that is joining and having their logos on, I'm never going to get through everybody, and I'm going to leave some people out, and some people have already said no, but we are asking them to pay towards the running, which is a small nominal fee just to have your logo on the flyer. But it's very funny because I'm getting funny questions and funny responses. And I'm like thinking, this is actually it's called a blessing of unity for Israel. That's what we're calling it. It's a blessing of unity for Israel. And we're making a chalamek. And the idea is next Thursday night, because it is the Erev Shabbos project. And I did have this kind of thing, and I'm thinking, you know what? Shabbos Project is every single Shabbos. And one of the things we can do for Shabbos Project every single week is actually to learn one extra halacha of Shabbos to solidify and to make us feel that we're doing something always towards Shabbos. That's one thing. But when you have a big worldwide acknowledgement and people all over the world, but England has not really taken onto that. But nevertheless, wherever you are, you can do. And it's so interesting to hear the different comments, like whether it's a worthwhile investment. And I'm like, okay, everybody has to say where their shul is going to spend £100. Like, does the shul spend £100 on just paying to have your name as part of a poster and hopefully bring 10 people that recognize that from the shul? Or do we actually just say, no, we're not interested? And it's fascinating. And then I go, well, what's it for? What's it about? Who's it for? Oh, is this for soldiers? Is this for, and I'm like thinking, what's your thought process? Like, what's your thought process? Tell me, like, why do we think like that? Like, what are we thinking? And then I said, well, actually, even Shabbos Project, we're not going to put like huge Shabbos Project and everything else smaller. It's going to be part of the whole thing. Why? Because that's where we are. And whatever we can do in a place of saying, it's okay, it's okay. And there's, oh, well, who's running it? And then who's singing? And I said, what we actually, people say, we can't spend money on it. I said, fine, I'm happy not to. I'm sure we'll find people who will come in and we can have some singing and we can have music in the background. It's about people being in a space together that says we want to not only just be in a place of togetherness, but it helps me in my midas, in my characteristics, to define and to see where everybody's coming from. So on Thursday, I'm actually going to Manchester for the day. And I was going to be doing here at Matilda Marks, a chalamek, where they bring the dough already, and there are no parents, it was just for the kids. So I said, if it's for the parents, I would have definitely stayed and done this and changed Manchester to another date. I said, but really, anybody can really do it for the children. And the idea is, I was telling her, so I made a whole recording for her, and I told her what to do, and the challah dough comes ready, so they're just going to be doing it. But what was one of the things that for me actually resonates as something which I often don't say, but I was just saying, I said, once you take all those ingredients, anyway, once you mix together the flour and the water, or the flour and the salt, or the sugar into the flour and the salt, you can't separate anything. Once it's in, it's in. You cannot separate it out. You know, have you even sometimes put a little bit of sugar instead of the salt, or salt instead of sugar into an egg, and you want to scoop it off? So you can scoop it off, but you can't take it out. It's there. You can't separate it totally. Some of it's going to be left behind. Then once you put in the egg and the oil and the water, that's it. It's a mixture. And you've got all these different ingredients, and we've mixed them all together, and you can't separate them. I said, that's the Jewish people. That's us. Us as a Jewish people, you can't separate anything. So you've got flours, and you've got waters, and you've got salts, and you've got your sugars, and you've got your eggs, and you've got your oil, and you've got your yeast. And each one has a different midah that it connects to. And each one has a different purpose of what it's actually doing. So every single thing that's in there, without it, doesn't get the same effect. It doesn't have the same effect. And then once you've brushed it with oil, you can top it with anything. And again, once it's on, you can't take it off, right? Once it's baked in, you can peel up with the crust, but it doesn't separate. And we are like that. That's us. That's us as a Jewish nation. We have that power. We have that power as a unit, as one. But yet we all want to be the one that's somewhere running something. And we're all the same thing, because a Jew is a Jew. And the neshama of the person, the neshama of each and every one of us, has the exact same demand from Hashem that says, make yourself into the best person you can be, and you need to rectify your midas, whoever you are. And you know that those tests come very in different ways. Somebody had sent out an invitation, and instead of creating a broadcast, created a group. And it was very funny, because I realized, but then I was in a meeting, so I couldn't message them to say, I think you made, the wrong thing. But people started answering, oh, yes, thank you so much. Yes, thank you. So then I'm thinking, well, I don't think they want anybody to know who's coming and not coming. It's like, I think it was, and then the response of the reply, oh, I'm so sorry. This is a bit embarrassing, but this wasn't supposed to go out, whatever. Yeah. And you think to yourself, you know what? All these things just come to show us and to say, you know what? We've got to be careful, and then we've got to be humble. And Hashem sends us all these things. And the Vilna Gaon actually tells us that a person is alive today so that he can correct his midas that he has not yet rectified. And therefore, a person must constantly strengthen himself in knowing that this is his purpose of life. So it could be a good thing. It could be a good thing. I'm here. And, Hashem wants me to be correcting myself and to be not to just, this is what he wants me to do. He wants me to correct everything that I'm doing and to learn what and how to do it, to be aware of other people. And the Gaon's words make it very clear that a person's purpose in this world is to perfect his midas, what we call tikkun hamidas. And the Rambam teaches us that tshuva is not limited to a sin which involves the body. It is both spiritual and physical. And therefore, we've got a lot of work that we need to actually be doing. Okay. The Torah is also not here for angels. And the angels have this conversation, and they say, we wanted the Torah. You give this Torah to men, and what do they do to man? And they just mess up, right? From the moment they got this Torah, they messed up, which is really quite a fascinating thing. And yet, the angels don't need to do these things. So we say, okay, if angels don't need to correct their midas and things, right? So what are we supposed to be? So the angels don't need Torah. We are the ones that actually need it. So what does he tell us? We have Moshe Kestenbaum, okay, who's written this book and put it together, which is really, really lovely and easy. And I thought, I loved his bookmark that he put into the book. Can you read it? Does it come out the right way? Do you see it? Okay, so change your world, okay? And the way that we really change our world is through us, and you don't have to worry about anybody else around you, because when you change your world, when you change you, then everything else around you becomes much easier. And that's also hard, but it does become easier. Somebody was telling me yesterday, fascinating thing. He said, there are two people in the family, one an adult and one a child, and they both behave in similar ways. And he said, it's funny when it's in a kid, you don't really realize it and notice it because it's a child. But when you see that kind of behavior come in an adult, you think, really? Don't you see yourself? You know? And it's an interesting thing. But if people over the years haven't learned how to deal with even what they're given as a test within your midst, you can stay that child forever. You know, there's a saying that says in the secular world, boys will always be boys. And the truth is that in a Torah world, that's really not what we say. We don't say it. Because a boy becomes a man at what age? Very young to become a man, because a man takes responsibility because Hashem gives him responsibility. No problem, Tavira. Nice to have you with us. Right? So Hashem gives us this responsibility, okay? And he gives man the responsibility. So that's what we come with. So we live our lives with responsibility in what the woman's responsibility is, what the man's responsibility is, but nobody really wants to take responsibility, okay? And that's one of the things that happens. So what does it mean in Tikkun Ha, the internal, okay? Because Tikkun HaMidas is something which is very internal. And it says in the name of Rav Chaim Vital that a person's midas are assessed purely on the basis of how he treats his wife, okay? That's quite hectic, especially if he's not married. But the statement is puzzling because why should a person's midas be assessed solely on the basis of how he treats his wife and not on the basis of his interaction with other people? True, he says the marriage relationship is much more important than other interpersonal relationships, and this is how he explains it. But why is it only a factor in assessing a person's midas? He says, moreover, it is probable that a person spends most of his time outside of his home, considering that his interactions with his wife would constitute a small portion of time. Why then are his midas assessed solely, okay, and purely on the way that he treats her? And it's a very interesting thing because not everybody's married and not even, but this is how Tikkun HaMidas comes and says that this would be the way that we see it. In order to answer this question, he says, we need to recognize that there is an obligation of what we call Tikkun HaMidas. And it is not an external requirement to behave kindly and pleasantly with others. Rather, it is an internal obligation that requires us to refine our inner emotions and to perfect them according to Torah. It's not just something which is, according to who? Go ask Joe Blogs on the street who's voting now for the next president, or where do we learn this from? Certainly not from the candidates of the presidential elections. It's quite scary. It's quite a frightening thing. I was talking to someone, we were talking about, all these TV programs that kids watch. And I remember a lot of people saying, that, what was that? Peppa Pig. Yeah, teaches bad midas, right? The teachers, they talk badly and rudely to the parents and they make fun of them and, they say he's a fat, whatever, I don't know, but whatever it was. And somebody said, oh, she didn't think that they were so bad because actually people use the word, oh, you silly. And I said, but, it's how we perceive that. And really, if we had to look at that in the Torah, no child should say that to a parent, but we're not doing that. So it's Peppa Pig. So we can say, oh, well, it's just Peppa Pig. It's a made-up thing. But actually, even from the place, when you look at tales, children's bedtime stories, when we were growing up, I mean, certainly they're a lot better now than they were when we were growing up. Grimm's tales, they were scary stuff. Some of these things were really scary stuff. What was their name? Hansel and Gretel? Who was the one that was put into the cage? And they had to put their finger out to see how thin they were or something. I don't remember some of them, but I'm thinking like they were actually awful, awful things. So where do we actually learn these midas from? And there's only one place that we learn internal midas from, and that is really from the Torah. So rather, it is an internal obligation that requires us to refine our inner emotions and perfect them according to Torah. So we understand that envy is a trait that lurks inside a person's heart, and the same is true of all midas. So if we say a person performs many kind deeds, that is an impressive achievement, but it does not prove that the person has truly acquired a midah of chesed, that he truly cares about others. Okay, so the obligation to rectify one's midas involves improving our personal inner character so that our midas will be implanted in our souls. It's really intense. Okay, to the degree that he has perfected his inner character, so his midas are actually measured out. So I think that's really quite a thing when we say, we reset the default button. For how many years we can learn Sfirsa Omer, right? And what do we learn? And certainly here on the groups and sending out messages and everything for the last at least 5 years, every week there's a different midah. Every day there's another midah in that midah, right? And you can listen to them and internalize it for 5 minutes, but has it had the proper desired effect that it's actually supposed to have on us? Is that the effect that it's really supposed to have? So when I looked at it, and every time I sort of think, okay, there's certain areas for sure. We hope that it's internalizing and it's kind of like a, just the thought process of the midah of Tiferes, okay? When we come to the thing, and it's an easy thing to think that my mind, my mouth, and my heart are all on the same page, right? And it's a very big thing because when we think about it, what I think and what I say and what I do are all the same, right? Because we have this perception of, we can do things and it doesn't have to come from everywhere. So when we are in a place, we've got to be able to say that it becomes my default. It's my default button. How do I think? Well, it depends on what my Das Torah is. How do I do that? If I'm not sure, I'm going to ask somebody to make sure that it's on the right page. Somebody called me yesterday. She got this beautiful new shaitel, and she popped by to show me the beautiful shaitel. And then she says, okay, but it's a skin top. It's a lace top. It's a this. They can change this and they can change, but they can't change that. But, and a little bit probably longer. I said, you know what? The truth is that it's beautiful and she looks lovely. And actually, it makes her feel better about herself. And she is looking to remarry and she doesn't want to take her head. So I said, you look at each part of it and the essence of who it is that she feels that she wants to do, and she wants to do the right thing. So she's going to go with the slightly shorter one, right? And we think to ourselves, what a beautiful thing. How many times do we think because we want to make sure as well that the way I'm viewed externally is what I'm trying to give out of what I really feel internally. And that is what she wants to be able to do. And that is part of a midas. What's Thursday, the 14th of November, Dal? Oh, did somebody ask when Chalamek is? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Can't see them all. So yes, our Chalamek is. Okay. Okay. So that's really what we start off by thinking. So if you want to know what a person's true inner character is, look at the way he treats his wife. We've all seen people who appear to be good, they have good midas, they perform chesed, but at home, they might be very different people. And unfortunately, do not treat the wives the way they should. Sadly, therefore, there are many Jewish homes that are filled with conflict. And the reason for this phenomena is that since a person wants to find favor in other people's eyes and wants to be liked and respected by them, he naturally will behave calm around them without much thought and effort, okay? Because he is motivated to behave properly. He certainly doesn't want to do something too truly bad in front of others, or he's afraid of what they will think. Consequently, a good behavior and good midas that he displays before others are not altruistic, as he is acting this way in order to earn their respect, okay? And in contrast, in the interaction, only with his wife, he is not afraid to show those midas, since he does not receive any honor for displaying good behavior and good midas around her. Therefore, a way a person treats his wife, because that is the innermost place in which we see this, and that is really how we define a character. Furthermore, when a person is in the presence of other people, he can easily hide his true feelings, even if he harbors ill feelings towards another person. He can conceal them. Okay, one, because since he does not have to be with them in the presence of a friend, he can wait until his anger, his anything dissipates. And two, even if it does not have to be with friends, their relationship does not require that much love. That is obvious from his behavior that he is upset with the person. But the internal relationship of marriage requires constant love, constant work, constant appreciation, and all the things that are virtually impossible to do when a person is in those inner places. Okay, so interesting. And now we see a little bit in understanding what in Tikkun HaMidas we see. So we can appreciate really Rav Chaim Vital's statement that tells us that wherever a person is on the place that they are the most connected is really the place in their home that we see those real midas come out. And that is what is so important. So Rav Chaim Vital said, this regarding how a man treats his wife can glean from his words. A similar idea would apply to a woman as well. Okay, it goes both ways, because it is certainly something which is internal. Do you know what? 3 times I've actually now keep my battery plugged in, and then I forget. And then the funny thing was, Emma, I kept my battery plugged in, but I forgot to turn on the plug. So you have to check that one as well. I was wondering, I was waking up because I charged my phone overnight, and I for the last 2 days. Okay,
Much technology.
in the morning it was like on like 7% or something, and I'm like, what's going on here? Boom, you know what, you've always got to check that the plug is actually in. So it's one of the things we learn. Okay, just have to put this out there. I got a message from Sarah Greenfield, just in case anybody is interested. Dal, this might pique your whatever. She's having coffee in Muizenberg. So Muizenberg is, you know, Muizenberg. Emma, have you heard of Muizenberg? Muizenberg is our beautiful little, where I grew up going to holidays every December for many, many, many years of our life. Very beautiful place. And all I can say is, it's divine. But certainly not what it used to. Okay, so what is the difference between midas and manners? Okay, so midas and manners, and we say that each day at the end of Shemona Esrei, we daven. Okay, we ask, we say that to those who curse me, let my soul be silent. In other words, we're asking that not only should we not speak against those who curse us, but that even inside our hearts, we should have no reaction whatsoever. In this vein, the Torah tells us, V'yidom Aaron, and Aaron was silent, meaning that not only did Aaron not complain against Hashem when his 2 sons died, he accepted the heavenly judgment so completely that even within his heart, he did not react in the slightest. Earlier as well, the Torah tells us that the purity of Aaron's emotions, and the Pasuk tells us, behold, he is going out to meet you, and when he sees you, he will rejoice in his heart, indicating that he bore no trace of envy in his heart towards Moshe, his younger brother, who had been appointed the leader of the Jewish people. It's an incredible thing. You know, even today, it's a hard thing for people when a younger sibling gets married, you know, and it's very hard. And there's in some communities, there's sort of like a thing that you get married in order, boys or girls, and you get married in order. What happens if there's an older sister? And the younger ones, there's something for them, but not the older. So everybody has to ask their own question. Everybody has to ask their own question. But one thing we know for sure is that a person gets blessing, gets bracha when they are able to be mevater and with a good heart. And it's not an easy thing, right? So here was Aaron, his younger brother has been appointed the leader of the Jewish people. And what does he say? He's no envy. There's not a trace of envy of anything in it. In many cases, we'll have in a lot of different cases, different siblings have different financial brackets, different blessings, different family members, right? And it's hard because it's in your face. But we have to learn that each thing that we have is coming to me from Hashem. So these descriptions of Aaron's character shed light on a well-known teaching of Chazal in Pirkei Avot, which teaches us be among the disciples of Aharon, loving peace, pursuing peace, and loving people and bringing them closer to Torah. It is not enough to pursue peace actively. One must also love peace in the depth of his heart. Similarly, it is not enough to bring people closer to the Torah. One must also love people. And that love spurs him to want to help them and draw them closer to the gift of Torah. This is the purpose of our existence, to rectify our innermost emotions. So when we think about those little things, and, you know, I think I did when I was thinking about this, you know, there's certain people that it's much easier than with others. And it's the work that we have to do with the others. So we also sometimes think that everybody else has an easy time. And that also is one of the things that I can tell you is that not everybody else has an easy time. Hashem sends each and every person their very own Messiah. Each and every person their very own Messiah. That is what we are dealing with. Everybody's challenge is different. Nobody's challenge is the same. And that's why we have to rectify our innermost emotions. That is what we're looking for. And where that becomes the natural default. You know, when you reset the default button, I used to make a joke with Rabbi Tats. I said, actually, you know, like we need to brainwash most men. I said, what I mean by that is to take out their brains, wash them out, put them back and reset them. So he laughed. He says, yes, according to a woman, obviously. I'm thinking, of course, what other way? So one of my friends called me this morning, and she wanted to know, she's helping with the shidduch, and she's in this boy, like, you know, everything was fine, all fine. And the girl thinks everything's wonderful and fine, and then he says no, there's just like no spark. And I said, it's a funny thing. She said, and he has a mentor. So I said, well, it depends who the mentor is. And, you know, and sometimes we get stuck because we think 4, 5, 6, 7, what's 9 dates? It's nothing, you know? And maybe at that time, but it could have been on date now and then something changed. Maybe she needed to do something for him. There's so many different things that we can look at. Or the mentor saying, just go out, see, maybe it will feel better. Maybe something else. And it doesn't always change. There's certain areas of things that change. And there's certain people that it's just easier to be around, right? Dal, did you ask for an appointment for your chest?
Yeah, I did. And that was it.
Oh, was that your appointment
Thank
for
you
your
for
chest?
davening. Yeah, it came through 11:30 today. It's like a miracle.
Good. Oh my gosh, Dal.
Yeah, miracle.
You see,
Thank you.
You see, nothing like asking till I want an appointment now. Good.
Sorry.
I'm glad that was what it was.
Yeah.
Okay. So really what we understand is that we all work differently and we can't put our own personal judgment on somebody. And a person's their choice. Would you like to meet him again? Even if, you know, this isn't guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed. But we have this place of things where we expect things, and then that will lead us to a place of disappointment. And that does not mean that person is bad midas. Like I started thinking, oh, lovely soap. The only problem is that I don't own the company it does. If I owned the company, you'd all be with me in Yerushalayim. Somewhere in the old city, you know, overlooking, and we'd be learning on the balcony with breakfast, you know, and going every day to help our soldiers, doing whatever we needed to do. You know, that's where we are. Just 1 second. And I just wanted to see if something had just come through, but it wasn't. It was from one of the other things. Okay. So what do we have to do? Okay. Our place is to look inside. And really what we need to see, we've got to look at the difference between what's good manners and what's good midas. Okay. Although a person can bring about a Kiddush Hashem through proper etiquette, or the opposite, chas v'shalom, through bad etiquette. Okay. We spoke about this also yesterday. Okay. A person, okay, 1 second, I've just lost my space. According to the good manner, the Kiddush Hashem, okay, proper etiquette and or chas v'shalom not. Manners nevertheless remain purely superficial, as opposed to good midas, which must be ingrained in a person's heart, and neshama, and that will automatically have the good manners, because a person with good midas that are properly ingrained in their neshama, on their neshama, and on their heart, right? Their naturalness is good midas, so they're going to have good manners. So it also stands to reason we've got to learn good manners, which hopefully will help us get to the tikkun of good midas. Okay, so even the most evil of person can have good manners, and we've known this. You know, we knew this from the Nazis here. In fact, it was possible to find a Rasha, an evil person, whose etiquette is actually even far superior to the etiquette of a holy tzaddik. And we can explain this with an analogy, he says. He says the strength of a building is directly proportional to the strength of its foundation in supporting the walls. The building would certainly be enhanced by a beautiful facade and the elegant interior decor. But no matter how breathtaking it is externally, if its foundations are weak and its supports are faulty, the entire building is worthless. And similarly, good midas are the foundation and most important aspect of a person's character. Good manners are necessary enhancement, but they are purely external and do not necessarily reflect on a person's true inner character. A challenge, okay? So then we say the following story, says Rabbi Kestenbaum, is a shocking illustration of this idea. Rav Avram Elia Kaplan, one of the leading disciples of the Alter of Slobodka, spent some time in Germany, and when he subsequently returned to Slobodka, the Alter questioned him about how the German people conduct themselves. He responded that they possessed excellent midas, citing as an example that the German practice of appending the words nicht wahr, is it not so, to their statements. For instance, if someone would ask for directions, a German would not simply reply, make a right, make a left, but he would conclude the response differentially by questioning nicht wahr. Okay, so the student in the Slobodka Yeshiva began to debate whether this practice was laudable. Some of them, including Rav Yitzchak Hutner, argued that Jews should not learn midas from the conduct of a non-Jew, but only from the Torah. A certain bacher, however, argued that since Chazal teach us who is wise, he who learns from everyone, it actually behooves us to learn from the conduct of the German as well. Around 50 years after this discussion, Rav Hutner was delivering his share when an elderly person entered the room. He sat on the side and waited until the end of the share, at which point he approached Rav Hutner and asked him, "Do you remember me?" I was the bocher who argued that we should learn from the behavior of the Germans. Rav Hutner extended his hand to him in a greeting, but then realized that the visitor was missing an arm. I lost my arm in the concentration camps, he explained. When the Nazi chopped it off, he said to me, "It hurts you? Nicht wahr. It's very painful? Nicht wahr. Rav Yitzchak, you were right, and I was wrong. Just because a person displays impeccable manners and follows accepted etiquette with precision, that does not prove that he is, in fact, a true Baalas Midas. The best litmus test of a person's Midas is the way he treats his wife, as we explained above. Other significant indicators are the way that he treats his other family members, how he reacts when someone wrongs or offends him, how he speaks about others, and the way he conducts his financial dealings. Conversely, when we see a person whose manners are not perfect, we should not immediately dismiss him as someone who is not a Baal Midas. Although a person should certainly strive to be perfect in his manners, we cannot judge a person simply by his external etiquette, since that does not necessarily reflect his inner character. Although he needs to brush up on social etiquette, nevertheless, since we have not witnessed how he interacts with his family members, how he responds when he's upset, and how he handles his business affairs, we cannot assess him accurately. He might still possess many special character traits that are worthy of recognition. So it's interesting, but one of the things that actually just rings a little bit with me is there are many stories of people who, people like who weren't always so generous on the outside and made people not think that they were the ones that were giving and doing things, and in actual fact they were. And it's actually a fascinating thing, but we don't always know and see. And one of the other things that also happens about people is that when they leave this world and they enter the next, we can know certain things about people, but there are going to be other things that we will never have known. Never, ever have known. And again, very often they're things that they're able to do for a lot of different people outside, but the bottom line becomes like how they really were at home. And last week was the Shiva of Yigal Salek. And it was actually quite amazing listening. Firstly, his wife could tell you all the wonderful things about him as well, and his children. But they were blown away by some of the stories that they heard, really blown away. And it's amazing. I remember once speaking to Rabbi Hela, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, after our first time that I read Holy Woman, and I phoned Rebbetzen Hela to say to her, "Why didn't you ever take me to meet Rebbetzen, the Holy Woman?" She says, "You know what? I don't know why we didn't. The truth is that maybe until the book was written or until the things we knew, and after she died, we don't appreciate that incredible holiness." So another thing is that we have to learn and know is that the way we want to be known and remembered is how we actually live. So it's definitely a place of recognizing the things we need to do. I have my beautiful smiling picture here of Lily, and I saw Dov Foreman last night, and I'd asked him to go in and speak on the 29th or whatever it is, January, the week of Holocaust Memorial, and if he would be able to go in and speak at JFS. Anyway, he can only pencil it in because there are going to be lots of fancy things he's going to be invited to do for the government and the king and all sorts of different things. So I'm like, okay. Anyway, I said to him, the truth is, Dov, if Sapta Lily wants you to be somewhere, you're going to be there anyway because she'll arrange it. I said, every day I actually like to have the picture of her sitting there like this, with her picture there with this lovely smile, and And I can say, you know what? If Sata Lily smiles at me and says it's okay, then it's okay. And I've got her there all the time, smiling and saying it's okay. But that means that we have to be careful how we do things all the time when we're in front of Sata Lily as well. And that's another thing to come to that we understand, because one of the things that we ask, is like what a person, like how do we behave and what do we say? Because it's always in front of Hashem, So we use people as kind of a litmus test, but it's actually how we are. So when Hashem is there, He's there all the time. He's there all the time, So that's why our internal midas become like the default of how we behave in modesty, in speech, in even your thought process. And but He knows what you want to be and where you want to be. So even when we're not on target, right, we want to be there. I have a friend and her husband used to say before he got married, he would say he really wants to marry somebody who really wants him to become a tzaddik. And I used to think you're really weird. It's like, so that's really, like at 19, can you imagine? Really wanted to marry somebody who wants to help him to become a tzaddik. And his aspiration is to help her to become a tzaddikus. And I just remember thinking, like, really? Okay, great stuff. But 40, more than that. Yeah, 45 years down the line, but already 44 years down the line. If you really examine that, and your aim and aspiration at that age was really to work on yourself, to become a righteous person, oh my gosh, can you imagine if the whole world would do? And when you know these two people, I will sometimes say to my friend, it's a good thing that your husband had those aspirations. It's a good thing that he had those aspirations. Because the truth is, I watched them come into a reality. And it's not taking two people that came out of Mea Shearim, two people that came out of B'nai Brak, or even wherever they come from. Yeah, they came from good places. But I can tell you, the tikkun hamidas that they've worked on through the time and the things that they do that are normal and natural, because it's like so embedded in the neshama and the place. That is really something which we are working on. And I think that that's something that also, when it comes to thinking about other people and thinking about Klal Yisrael, and I started off saying earlier that I'm actually going to speak at this mother to mother. And last night, I had our granddaughter Ella Shira, staying over with us. Her parents have gone to Manchester for a wedding. And as I say, they've dumped the baby at her mom, and I've got Ella. So this morning, Baruch Hashem, Leah had a beautiful sleep. And she might have actually even had Zach with them, staying with them. I don't know. I think the mom's just babysitting for the day and while they go to the wedding. But I was just thinking, like last night, I wanted to go some months of an engagement. I had some stuff to get done on the computer. Now, Ella, you put her into bed usually 6:30, by 6:10 to 7, she's gone. You read her book. You say Shema. I always tell her a story about Ella. You make up a little story. She told me that I can't sing. I mean, can you imagine? I was like, she wanted to be saying Shema, and I had to sing a Malach girl. And she said, not that one, Bobby. And she got the tune right. I said, so she says, no, you don't sing that very well, Bobby. My mummy sings it very nicely. So I said, thank you. I appreciate that, my darling. I said, but it's okay. It's not one of the things that, I was gifted with. So I'm okay with that. But she was so excited, actually, about just staying with me and being with me and whatever. And we had to change. She's potty trained, but she's had a bit of a problem. So we had to change a nappy in between. It was just like all these little things. She went to sleep at 9:15. And you know what? It was something that was actually, for me, quite refreshing, because I just decided I'm just ignoring everything. What I can respond. She learned on the Chofetz Chaim at 6:30 with us. or whatever it was. She learned with us first. I said, you want to go to sleep and Bobby will sit outside and listen to the learning. She knows she wants to listen to the learning. It was very cute. But she was actually just overexcited. So she was talking to me and telling me stories. And I was just thinking, you know, if this was a mother with your child, trying to get her to bed for 7 o'clock because you just want to get on with hiding out, doing well. She even said to me this morning, Bobby, did you work last night on your computer? And I said, no, my darling Ella, it was too late because you took so long to go to sleep. Oh, okay. It's like, and I think, you know what, bless it. Because when you're older and you're wiser and you're calmer and you've got different things that you've got to get to and run to, and you realize the importance and you don't have, you know, I didn't have Bat Mitzvah program to run to. I didn't have any other shit to run to. I was just here. And I just thought, that's it. I thought it was actually quite, liberating. And then I went out to an engagement, and it was very funny because I know where the Federation is, but I actually was talking to somebody on the phone and just drove straight past. Oh, I drove 4 minutes up Finchley Road, thinking I'm supposed to have been off this road a long time ago. But I turned around and it was all fine because, again, there was no other pressure. We've got the things that we think about and we say, like, what? It's okay. It's okay. And life becomes like that thing of that attitude. And when I thought about it, even now, thinking about what are we planning and trying to do when we are working on our? We take an accounting, we breathe, we say, okay, that wasn't really right, but I'm going to do better today. I'm going to do better tomorrow. At least I know a little bit more today, and at least I'll try a little bit harder. And if it doesn't last 5 minutes, it will last for 3, because yesterday it only lasted 2. And in 5 weeks' time, it's going to last for 4, because I'm going to be so aware of things I'm going to say. And if I'm not going to say the right thing, I'm just going to smile and walk out the room. And it's okay. It's okay. And we're going to come up with different challenges. And I always find it interesting that when people come and they'll say that, you know, at this time in my life, because of this and this and this, I should be much more compassionate, much more. I'm thinking, actually, it's not like that. Because you've never been tested on this path before. And now you're being tested. And so the test is a new, different test. So we have to have new skills. So then we say, okay, what am I meant supposed to be? And if I think back to a story like this, and I think, you know what, when we don't really know what, and it's nicht wahr, everything that the Germans say, okay, you know, okay, like big deal, right? Is it not so? Yeah. Is it not so that you're not in pain because I cut off your arm? Uh-huh. That's okay. And then we realize that actually, if we're not doing this to come closer to Hashem and to become better people, then what are we doing it for? What are we doing it for? I remember walking with Rebbetzen, Gottlieb with Rebbetzen Heller in Mezerbush. It was Friday morning, and we were going to Uman. And one of my friends was trying to walk on the side with her so that she would actually protect her from the mud. And because of the way she was walking, Rebbetzen Heller actually slipped in the mud. Now be the person who did this and you want to die. And be Rebbetzen Heller Gottlieb and you just get up and carry on talking. And be another person who isn't so aware of themselves and about embarrassing the person who maybe was the cause, maybe not, in trying to protect you. And what do they say? What do you think you're doing? Are you stupid? Did you not see that I'm here? Right? Right? Simone, gorgeous to see you. Make a beautiful day. Right? That comes out as the midas that is naturally there, that we don't want to cause embarrassment to anybody else. So we just get up and we dust off the mud and we keep going. And it's okay. And we're walking then in Miserbush, and there are these chicken and these old houses, and you feel like you're in 1910, and nothing maybe had changed by then since now. But we look at the world that we're in, and we see, where we are, and the developments of everything that have taken place, literally everything that's taken place in the world. And we talk about people and advancement, and talking about better people. And what is it? You know what it is? We haven't become better people because we can do things quicker. We haven't become better people because we can drop a bomb that's more accurate from a plane. We haven't become better people because of so many different advancements of being able to share messages on the internet in 3 seconds. In seconds. In seconds, we can murder somebody without physically killing them by something we post or somebody posts online. And that really becomes this place of the midas, and how we're going to have to learn to align our midas really with Torah and with the way Hashem says that we're going to align it, rather than the way we think or the way the rest of the world thinks. So I think, again, on a daily place of where we are now, in Cheshvan, and we can take Cheshvan, again, the busyness and the things we do, but we can take Cheshvan and use it to consolidate all those things and think about, I think maybe Hashem planned it that I'm going to go and speak at Mother to Mother, because I had a child to get up this morning, and I see her drinking sippy cups here on the table. I'm sure they'll give her a drink at play group. But you know what? It's a different place, because it's calm, it's one baby, it's your granddaughter, and what do you want for breakfast? And actually, she likes to have yogurt with cottage cheese. She didn't like it today, so I don't know what. And then I went into the kitchen and I bought her 2 different kinds of cottage cheese. There's one drier and there's one that's more creamy. And she emptied into her bowl. And I just said, Ella, darling, now we're going to see what we can finish. And I'm thinking, you would have ever done that with your kids? Oh my gosh, it's okay. We just remind ourselves, get her to school on time. We're a little bit late, but it's fine. Okay, as long as I pick her up on time. But it reminds us that it's all a process. And that the way we think and are when we're in our early years, and young children and young things, and then we have to grow with that and learn with that. And then we're still going to have our different tests that are going to test our middle. So wishing everybody a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day. Make a beautiful day, and we should just have the mindfulness of, whenever we have an opportunity, to remind us that it is according to Hashem's way that we should hopefully better our internal stamps and create that positive default. Okay. Have a lovely day, or make a great day. I actually am very excited because my light that I have, that I don't use as a light, my little box that says on it, make a great, was lost its day. And I found a little packet with the letters, and it's back to having make a great day. So it's sitting right in front of me. So have a beautiful day, everybody. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.